Hey, hi everyone. So welcome back. So I hope everybody is like enjoying the highs and lows of the T20 World Cup right now. So we are just having it. So we are recording it before the finals. So this is a Friday afternoon here in India. So this is so I just realized that I've actually never introduced myself actually before doing these videos to the audiences. So I'm Saptak, right? So I'm just a huge passionate cricket lover like everybody I guess who is watching this. So I just like talking about the sport, like sharing thoughts, learning new things, and sharing with you all. So that's the whole point of this. And so welcome back everyone. And so today I have with me this is Preeti Upala. So she's a so I think most of you may already know her because she's really popular and she's an actress and entrepreneur and like she does multiple things. So you can obviously follow her on Twitter and everywhere. She has a social media presence everywhere. So and but most importantly, she's a huge cricket fan as well. So that's what's so basically here we are going to talk about many interesting topics actually. So first of all, like let's so right now the T20 World Cup is going on. So we just had two semi-finals. So first of all, welcome. And so how are the like emotions right now? Because like we India just lost the match yesterday, and so how is everything? Like yeah.
Well, firstly, namaste, my friend. Thank you so much for inviting me to your wonderful platform. It's such a pleasure to be here. And namaste to all of your wonderful audience. So, yes, I think the Indian fan has got the most toughest job in this lifetime, right? The emotions are so drastic and it's up and down all the time. It's been like that for years. Um, it's I think this particular T20 to begin with, people just wrote off India. They said that it doesn't really have a chance because the surface and the conditions don't really suit India. They probably suit New Zealand, Australia, maybe England, and yet we outperformed in the group stages, came out on top. Some matches looked very, very good, and found ourselves in this semifinal, and it's a shame. I'm trying to think, if we ended up coming second and we had to play New Zealand, we probably would have beaten them, I think, because they're not in such great form either. These things happen. I feel like the Indian team just has a little bit of bad luck, I think. And I thought really Rohit Sharma would, once he came in, he would stabilize the team energetically, and they'd be lucky again and they would win everything again like they used to. But that is not quite worked out. But I think forget this year, right? You can just forget this year. I think next year the ODI World Cup is where we have a great shot. In fact, I think we're going to win it and we'll have a good shot. And then the year after that, the T20, which will be here in America, I think it has a good shot of winning that. And perhaps those are bigger tournaments. So I think to the Indian fan, don't worry about it. Better times are coming.
So yeah, that's what we all hope, right? So because we have been getting heartbreak since 2013, I think, yeah. So last time we won in 2013. So, but personally, this loss actually doesn't hurt that much because I've the 2019 one is still deep inside me. So that's kind of which still this was for me. I think this was expected because the team wasn't in that great shape leading into the World Cup. So I think a semi-final, like obviously it is a bit painful for any Indian cricket fan, but I think it's a fair justification of where the side is currently right now. So that's what I understand cricket and all these things. So I want to focus on that here. So first of all, so for our audiences, if you can just say, so because if say personally I don't have much knowledge on it, so I just want to learn as well as you like as we have this conversation. So geopolitics means having international relations between different countries, right? So and
yes.
So yeah, so can you give me a like a rough idea? So how does it like relate to cricket? Yeah, so if you can just yeah.
Oh yeah, fantastic. So this is my area of expertise and interest. It's very niche. I don't think there's anybody who speaks about it quite the way that I do. People do speak about like cricket and colonialism, cricket and history, maybe a little bit, but not geopolitics. Although it's in our face, right? When we have India Pakistan, the match, when we have that sort of massive trolling going on, whatever, the social media goes berserk, and then you have India and England, that dynamic. All of that is geopolitics. I think what BCCI's role in cricket is, the power, all that stuff. So I feel like what is going on in the world of politics out there is reflected on the pitch. You can see it. 30 years ago, India wasn't some great power politically either. And cricket, certainly, we were not a force to reckon with. But today, things are very different. Politically, geopolitically, in the world, we are a rising superpower, right? We are an emergent power. It's fantastic. We're confident. The country is doing so well. We have good leadership. And wherever we go, Indians seem to be doing so well. And I think the Indian cricket team reflects that. It has reflected that for some time now, I would say, and it continues to. So, and then when you see the dynamic when India-Pakistan play, or India-Australia, India-England, especially, I think, especially since I think today the UK is a declining power. The empire doesn't exist. They are slowly, Indian GDP just crossed theirs. They're gradually on a descent, and we are ascending, right? So that, I feel like you can see that on the game, on the pitch as well. Just not just the players, the teams, but the dynamic, right? The boards and the commentators, how they now speak. Now everybody understands that the big dominant player is India. Financially, economically, they are 85% of the entire market, and it's a multi-billion-dollar market, right? Everybody gets that. Sometimes they pretend that that's not the case, and I don't like that, because I think they're being disingenuous, and you can see it. But at some point, you can't not acknowledge, right, India's financial sort of prowess. And many times, even the team was as good. They were lethal, they were winning, but I just think we have some bad luck in ICC finals. But other than that, most series we end up winning, and even in Test cricket, we're doing so well. So that's good. So this geopolitical situation, I have to say, as we progress, it's going to get more crazy. As India gets stronger, there will be more detractors. Even in the world of cricket, there will be more detractors. We will have more enemies. We will have more trolls. There'll be people who will hope for us to fail. Like, it's a thing. It's happening already. It's going to only happen more. So at some point, we have to, I think, develop a thick skin, prepare for it, and understand that there's nothing wrong with us, or we're not unpleasant in any way. It's just that people can't handle where the power has gone today in the world of cricket, and in some ways even out there in the world, right? So things to come for sure.
So that's an interesting point. So regarding India's dominance in these ICC events and everything, so overall they're bringing in the money, as I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so one more thing. So regarding this, there are many associate nations as well, right? So who are currently improving each day in day out.
Yes.
So I think that's very important for the global health of this sport to thrive as well. Like, say, the FIFA World Cup. If you want cricket to be a truly global sport, then
yes, you need more than just 8 teams. Exactly. I think associate teams, make them full members, bring in more teams. T20, OD, why not? These teams are good. They're playing good cricket. Ireland just beat England. We're seeing it. Zimbabwe is resurgent. How exciting. Netherlands is back. This is amazing. We want to see this, and it is actually such a global sport. 200 countries play it. Every country plays some kind of cricket. It's just that in these World Cups, we only have 8 or 10 teams competing, and you could have much more. So I think you got to make it truly global.
Even I feel the same. So that's the whole point of it. And So do you think the ICC, so which is currently like focused, we have this big three, right? India, Australia, and England. So I just want to talk about, so what more can they do? So since you are into these things, so what more can they do to actually like help spreading the game globally? Because currently what I see from say Twitter or any social media is from their players, they're asking for more opportunities for say India, Australia, and all these teams to come and play them, and so they can improve and develop. So do you think that there's a but I also see the challenges of why India and other teams won't go there, because it doesn't bring them the money, because it's like only going to be beneficial for the other country. So is there a model where say both side gets benefited and also we have the growth of the associate nation? So yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I'm just thinking now perhaps at least India can do this. They can have India A, B, C, D, whatever. And you could certainly have those teams go to Caribbean, go to Zimbabwe or Africa, and that would be good for them. It would be good for the India C as well. So I think India could certainly put up several teams. I don't know about England and other countries. We could certainly do that, and it would be good for our youngsters too, right? They get exercise, experience working, playing against other competitive teams around the world that they haven't played, and they can learn about playing in different conditions. I think our issue has been we are good in some conditions and not others. This way you could get a more well-rounded team, and then people who excel in those matches, they should be given a good look, I think, for the national team or IPL or whatever it is. Why not? So yeah, but what I also see is, and I think this doesn't come out so much in the media or in the open, but I suspect it's happening behind the scenes. I feel like there's a lot of drama and competition between the boards. Definitely stuff is going on that nobody wants to talk about, right? I think BCCI is having issues with all of these boards and probably the ICC as well. And I have a feeling it's in the next 5 to 10 years, I think all this drama will be a little bit more in the open because it'll blow up. I think this egos hurt. You look at ECB and BCCI, like the dynamic that they have is very strange. Like obviously the ECB isn't happy with the fact that they have no power, nobody cares about them, nobody listens to them, and they don't have money either, right? And they have a lot of issues, like they have their hands full, I think, with domestic issues and so on. So sometimes the way that they interact with the BCCI is very, you can just see that they kind of have a chip on their shoulder, I think. So, and then of course PCB, that's a different matter altogether. That might blow up too at some point. So I see more drama with the boards being out in the open, which will be interesting because then the players and the fans will get involved. Yeah.
So another like interesting topic regarding this only. So you picked about, you spoke about the IPL as well, partly over there. So regarding IPL, so as we are seeing the future, say, tours program regarding the IPL, so I think the number of matches will keep on increasing as each year. So I think like next to next year, we are having 94 matches, what I saw on social media. So I think there's a issue as well with how the ICC handles it, because that means a larger window for IPL means lesser bilateral matches or lesser time for like international matches. So I have to see how that catches around as well. So and do you think that it is? So I'm just doing a prediction kind of a thing here. So do you think that in say next 5 years, say, is IPL going to be the most say important thing in cricket than in the World Cups and all these things, or do you feel that like no, like that's a separate thing and then IPL will be an Indian centric thing? So what do you think about that?
That's such a good question. Honestly, I think it will be the most important thing. It actually already is, but players can't come out and say that, right? Especially when they're playing World Cups and representing their national team. But when IPL time comes around, or the energy that they bring, the excitement, I mean, the money that's in that league specifically, and not even franchise cricket, just specifically the IPL. It's huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar. It will only get bigger. It'll get bigger. It'll get better. It'll get more rich, more lucrative. Let's say more eyeballs. I mean, I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and someone was talking about cricket, and they said, Indian cricket is bigger than the Super Bowl. It's so true. And a match between India and Pakistan is the most watched probably match on the planet. That is so true. So that's not going to change at all. In fact, as the relations between the two countries we know the state of Pakistan, right? And we know where they're headed. And it's just, things are going to get very tense, I think, between India and Pakistan. And you'll see that dynamic on the pitch and with the fans. So, what I don't think will ever happen, though, I don't think Pakistani players will be allowed to play in the IPL. That's a political decision that the BCCI has taken and will continue to take, and no bilateral series either. I think that's a political decision, and I don't think they would cross that. So Pakistan will have its own league and have its own bilateral series. So I think things are going to get very, very dramatic moving forward when things between the relations between these countries get more tense. It'll show up on the pitch for sure.
And so one more thing. So since you're in USA, right? So how is the cricket structure over there? So is it a evolving sport too? With the actual, no, I'm not talking about the Indian people who are staying in USA. So the native people, right? So
you're talking about the Gorawalas. So it's good point. So the diaspora, firstly, they have minor league cricket and they have major league cricket. But so these are local teams. Seems like every little locality has a cricket teams, and they compete and they play every weekend, whatever, But the diaspora is heavily immersed. They watch a lot of games, they play it, whatever. The Gorawalas, the American Caucasians, no, or just Americans in general, they haven't caught on to it yet. It will catch on at some point. I think when the World Cup comes here, it will become a big thing. And I think baseball fans, there's no reason why they wouldn't love cricket either, because they're so similar. And baseball is a very specific kind of sport. Not everybody is into it, but the ones who are into baseball really love baseball. So they probably would love cricket too. I just think they need to learn a little bit about the rules and, understand what the game means, because it is really such a classy sport, right? So, and I think that will come. I have heard that there are IPL franchises that are being bought here. Like apparently Shah Rukh Khan has a Los Angeles, where I live, like a Los Angeles KKR branch team, something like that. I don't know where that'll go, because there is no IPL in America, or there's no American kind of franchise cricket yet in that way. In the next few years, they might set up something like that, and then they'll get a lot of attraction, I think.
Yeah, so that's like an interesting point as well. So that it also helps cricket in USA evolving, also helps the global sport as well. So I think that's a interesting thing to follow. And so this is it basically. So apart from the T20 World Cup and say the geopolitical stuff and the cricket we are seeing everywhere. So tell me a bit about your journey. How do you start? So you're originally from India, right? You're Indian.
Well, my parents are Indian, but I grew up in Dubai. Okay. I grew up in the Middle East. I lived in Europe. I lived in Australia, and then I moved to America. Okay.
So so growing up in UAE, so how did you fall in love with the sport? So what's your journey been with this sport? So,
yeah, definitely. I grew up watching and playing cricket in the Middle East. And it's funny because, you know, we had Pakistani neighbors, we had Indian neighbors, we had neighbors from Afghan neighbors, whatever. So, you know, we grew up watching and playing the game with each other. So my experience of it is actually very different. I think most Indian fans haven't played cricket with Pakistanis, and no, they haven't had that interaction. I grew up with them, right? So my personal understanding and experience with them is very, very positive and very lovely. So I always loved the game. Then I sort of took a little hiatus when I moved to Australia, even though they play cricket in Australia. I wasn't that much into it. And then when I moved to America for several years, I wasn't into it. And then something happened when, well, of the 2011 World Cup was one thing, but more recently, just a few years ago, I think India had some amazing wins, right? And then of course the GABA thing, and all, then it was like a whole new beast was unleashed, and then and IPL was on top too. So all of that came together. I think the last 3 or 4 years have been amazing for Indian cricket specifically, and the game I think has grown like quadrupled, right, on every level. So it's become huge, I think.
So even as a Indian fan, like stay in India, so I can see anywhere you go on, it's normal, so you hear about in Mumbai, you hear about the grounds and people playing like crazy on weekends. So it's an ever evolving sport. So cricket has no competition really in India with any other sport. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because many other sports also need to be promoted as well. So if we are to do good in say on the Olympics or stuff like that, so we are doing it. So we have this Neeraj Chopra and all these people. So they are huge inspirations as well. So overall, so if you are talking about cricket, so it's in pretty good shape currently. Yeah, India team loses in semi-finals. That's a different issue, because that's something you need to tweak a few things, I think. But overall, the health of the sport in India, I think, is
very pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very good. We have to understand that, you know, when the team wins, we celebrate them. They are like God, right? We elevate them, and then when they lose, we completely obliterate them. We shouldn't do that. That's a lot of pressure on these people. They're human. They make mistakes. They're not perfect. They tried their best. When they win so well, it's unexpected. We just expect them to blow it out of the park, and when they lose, we're so shocked. So we can't do that to our own team. I think they need to be respected, acknowledged. Probably we need to be a little bit more brutal with the selection. There's a lot of underperformers. They need to be given a break and get the people who are performing. I think what's happening is they're keeping people who are underperforming for a long time, and then there's a big loss, and then everybody's very frustrated and they take it all out on the team or the BCCI or whatever. And you can't be passive aggressive like that. I think we have enough players. You need to do a better job with selection for sure.
So yeah, even I feel the same. So I think the selection committee needs to be as well looked at, because they are the ones who actually because if you talk about the 2021 World Cup, and there's this recent World Cup which happened. So there were talks of many things being changed, but I don't see anything.
There were no changes. It was the same people. I was shocked to see so many veterans. I mean, it's an old team with, yes, good players, but Jesus, this is not the kind of team you need to have. You have to have performers. You have to have young people, fit people. Hopefully you have a captain who is sharp and in form. So I think with this loss, they should wake up and make a lot of changes for sure.
Yeah, I think that this loss actually deserves a lot of constructive criticism, but people should not abuse and troll the team. That's that doesn't help anyone. But there should be a lot of criticism on valid points. I think that's pretty much justified. So yeah, as I said, so I will be covering that in a separate video, maybe alone or maybe with someone. So that's for later. But yeah, so this is what I all had to discuss with. I hope everybody enjoyed this discussion as well. And so thank you again for joining this chat. So I enjoyed it personally.